Welcome to Tent Talk, the podcast with Nancy McCready, where we talk about life under the big tent of God's presence and the provoking process of discipleship. Here we go.
Well, hello from Council Bluffs, Iowa, and welcome to today's Here We Go episode. And I'm so glad that we're together. I arrived here in Omaha, Nebraska. That's always where we land, because if you drive out of the parking lot of the Omaha, Nebraska airport, you literally drive right into Iowa. And so I arrived on Wednesday afternoon and thought, what will the weather be like January in Nebraska and Iowa? But it was beautiful. It was sunny. It was dry. It was crisp. It was about 55 to 60 degrees. It was beautiful. And so I hopped in the car and for the first time out of the airport parking lot, took a right instead of a left. And when I took that right, it took me into Nebraska. And I am coming to faith for Nebraska in a new way. But what that really means is the people of Nebraska, those whom God is connecting me with. And I'm in faith for what He's doing in them, because Nebraska is their jurisdiction. Nebraska belongs to them. And so I took a drive and was able to talk to some folks while I was driving, and then went to Fremont, Nebraska, where I was able to go to Megan Stokes. For any of you that have been around us very long, Rick and Megan Stokes. And so Megan has her own nutrition shop, and it's Fremont Nutrition. And I was able to go there for the first time, just be with them for a little bit, see the place, leave our blessing upon it, have one of their great nutrition drinks, and visit with them, talk with them. And then I headed out, went to Cedar Bluffs, and what a unique little town. Only about 615 people, and was able to be there with a friend and be able to see what's happening there. And then I headed on back in the evening after having dinner there in Cedar Bluffs. I loved it at the tavern. It was like a pub. It was just so awesome. Have a good old burger and tater tots and and be able to visit. And I love being able to go and see where people live. Where is their everyday life happening? Just like we love to have people come to Sealy. We can't just know people from a platform. We can't say we're really working together, and yet we've never been in each other's lives day to day, and be able to have a reference point when they say, I was at the office working, or I was at my shop. I can picture. I've been there. I can picture it. I can see now where they're living out their daily life. And when they come to see us in Sealy, Texas, they see the very ordinary life that we are living as we fulfill our assignment. If people think it has to be glamorous from a platform, it looks like this and that, and they think, well, I can never do that. Well, good, because that's not what you're called to. You're called to Him, and as you move with Him, you'll go wherever He is saying and living that out in everyday life. So I'm glad when people come and they see our simple way of life, our home. They meet the friends that we walk with there. They can see in our own backyard, where is this work happening right where you are? Is the same life that we see you living when you come to Iowa, Nebraska, to Europe, to wherever? Is that really that way of life? Is this real? Yes, it is. And this is a part of real discipleship. This is a part of that. I give up my right? We talked in our previous episode about disciples' rights, and am I willing to lay down those legitimate blessings of God, the absolute proper things that the Father has blessed us with Are we able to lay that down, to go further with the Father, to fulfill the will of the Father, rather than clinging to the good life and what I should have and how it should look for me and I should be prosperous and all of that? Well, good. I want you to be prosperous. And what about the releasing of all of his prosperity to others in a richness of life? And so this is a part of that, is, yes, the Lord has blessed me. Yes. And yet, are those blessings going to become the bottleneck? Is everything only going to function as long as I'm comfortable, prosperous, and look successful? Or will the life of Christ in me, the life that he lived, that he now calls me to, will that now be lived through me? Because if the Son of God could strip himself of all of his rightful privileges and his dignity as God, lay it down voluntarily so as to become a human, so that he could fulfill the greater will of the Father to bring all of us home, right? Then am I too living that life? So don't stop at your blessing. Don't stop at your legitimate God-given inheritance and think that's only for you. That's a part of what happened with the prodigal son. He took his inheritance and then he lavished it upon himself. And where did it take him? Mud between his toes, corn in his teeth. And one day he woke up and said, it'd be better for me if I just went home and was a servant in my father's house. And so there are many sons that will be awakening to the fact that they took their inheritance and they've wasted it upon themselves. Are we going to be those who live as Christ? True disciples who take up their cross, follow him, conform to his way of living, thinking, and dying if need be. That's what Jesus said. He said that if you loved him foremost, first, it will appear to others as though you don't even love them. They will wonder what's happened. You don't consider me number one. Right? That's true. You're not. If he is your life, if he is number one, it is going to appear to others as though you hate them, because they can't work you, they can't control you, they can't put a demand upon you, they can't say, I am this or that to you. How can you treat me? Well, I'm not treating you a particular way. I'm going with him. And it actually is an amazing thing that you actually become a true lover of people when you are his disciple, truly. Not in name only, but truly. You can look at Jesus and how he lived. People were convinced he wasn't for them. He didn't do what Peter thought. He didn't do what the Pharisees thought he should be doing. He was nothing that they thought he would be. And he could lay his head at night down and sleep, knowing that the majority of people around him were disappointed in him, misunderstood him. But he knew that he was living as the Father had called him to. So you will be, if you're a true lover of God and living his life, you will be a true lover of people, but they won't know it. They will perceive your love as almost hate, because it doesn't conform to them. It doesn't do what they want you to do. It doesn't look like love to them as they have thought it. So I want to shift a bit in this Here We Go episode, and I just want to share a few thoughts from, I mentioned as I was leaving on Wednesday that I was going to be bringing 2 books with me, Life Together by Bonhoeffer, and a book called simply Discipleship by A.W. Tozer. And without getting in too deep, he makes the point as he opens up the book that if you say something is high, then it implies there is a low. If you say something is bad, then you imply that there must be a good. If you say one thing it implies that the other does exist. And so when Jesus speaks about what it means to be his disciple, it means there could be other kinds of disciples that will show up, because he's defining and having to clearly state, this is what it means if you are to be my follower. If you are going to follow me, live in me, with me, like me, then this is what will show up. Right? You'll take up your cross. You'll come after me. There will be a pursuit. Nobody's going to have to hunt you down. Nobody has to make you. Nobody has to beg you. He says, take up your cross. That's your point of liberation. Right? The death to self, alive unto him. All that the cross means. Oh, so much. And as I'm here in Council Bluffs, Iowa, getting ready to step into our second day of Cross Encounter here with about 40 people. Wow, great opening night last night, right? And we're saying, right, that this is his way of life. There can be no real discipleship without the cross. It's not possible, because flesh will never follow him. The person could want to go with God, but will find there is no ability to do that without the present power of the cross working diligently inside of you. The cross is not just a historical event. It's a present power working inside. All right, so okay, let me continue on. All right, so I want to draw from this chapter in Tozer's book on discipleship. It's called True and False Disciples. And we have to be those who are so leaned into him, listening to him, learning of him, from him. We are not just people who are impulsive and emotional. We are true disciples. So he asks the question, now, what about the other kinds of disciples? He says, first we must consider the person who becomes a disciple of Christ on impulse. This is likely to be the person who came in on a wave of enthusiasm. And he says, I am a little bit suspicious of anyone who is too easily converted. I have a feeling, he says, that if he or she can be easily converted to Christ, he or she may be very easily flipped back the other way also. He says, I'm concerned about the person who just yields and who has no resistance at all to anything offered to them. They like everything they hear. They respond to every message they hear. They give a yes to many, many things because they're living by impulse. And so he talks about that if he or she can be reasoned into the kingdom, he or she can be scared out of the kingdom again in no time. And so he's talking about those that come by impulse. And I really, this statement really stuck out to me again. He says, I go along with the man or woman who is thoughtful enough about this decision to say truthfully, I want a day to think this over, or I want a week to read the Bible and to meditate on what this decision means. You see, he's saying that, give thought to this. Remember what Paul said in Galatians 3 when he called them stupid, poor, silly. He said, you are unreflecting. He says, you're not thinkers. You're not taking time to consider, count the cost, look at it, think with the Father about it. It's just a glib yes all the time. So he says that this is an aspect of being a false disciple, one who comes by impulse and therefore can be swayed at any moment by a new impulse. And so this is why even when I bring people into any of the works that we're doing, they may come up to me after Cross Encounter and say, I want this, I need that. I say, that's good. And if it's him, it'll be him in 2 weeks. So let's set up a time to visit. I want to hear your heart, right? Because this is not an emergency. This is your life. You can't live in a crisis mode or crisis impartation. This is about the daily manifestation of his life in us. And though I want everyone to come in, and I have been impulsive myself, and oftentimes so quickly and so deeply wanting people to know him that I used to cut corners or try to lower the bar a bit so that they'll come, and or try to over explain because they seem to not get it. It's like, no. The Father says, no, don't do that. Honor me and honor them as my people, and give them time. No pressure. If they say a quick yes, tell them, okay, well, let's talk about it. We'll talk next week, because if it's him, it'll be him next week. And this is how we learn not to be impulsive in the whole of our life. Quickly entering into friendships, relationships, and this and that, and then later being like, why did I do that? I got overly charged, supercharged about things. And so here's really the favorite statement that I love that Tozer made. He says, I have never considered it a very great compliment to the Christian church that we can generate enthusiasm on such short notice. The less there is in the kettle, the quicker it begins to boil. I have that underlined, highlighted in yellow, and it has a star. He says there are some who get converted on enthusiasm and then backslide on principle. So think about this statement. The less there is in the kettle, the quicker it begins to boil. So if there is just a little bit of water, it can come to a boil very quickly. And he's saying, basically, when we are shallow and there's not much there, we can quickly be excited, quickly be impulsive, quickly make a decision. But the more there is there, the longer it takes to build to the boil. We don't want to remain shallow. We all begin shallow, but we don't want to remain that way. We've all been impulsive. We've all made quick decisions. Yes, I'm going to sign up for that Bible study, and then you go for 3 weeks and then you don't finish. We commit to something, and then when it gets tough, we say, no, I'm out. Or if we stay in, we do it only, to save face. So Tozer is really putting it before us here when he says we don't want to be those who are disciples, really in our own thinking, because disciples are not impulsive people. They become reflecting, thinking, waiting, watching. Because a person that you meet and you quickly bond with can appear to be many things, but it's only as you walk together that you find what's really happening, what's really going on here. So he then talks about there being disciples who are personality enamored disciples. He says, I have also met the kind of disciples who seemed to be Christians because of the cult of personality. They had been overwhelmed and charmed by a big dose of winsome personality. You cannot deny that when some people flash their broad smiles, their faces radiate charm, and people just want to follow them immediately. Tozer goes on to say, I have always been bothered a little by personality tests, even though I am addicted to them. Actually, he says, I have never found one that really benefited me. I always seem to come out with a poor score. But I never pass one up if it asks, are you a good husband? Are you a good father? Have you got personality? He says, I once confided to Dr. H.M. Schumann, longtime president of the Christian and Missionary Alliance and a very wise Christian philosopher. Dr. Schumann, I said, no one will follow me. I can't help but notice all of the big leaders with their charm and personality to spare. All they have to do is whistle, and there comes the crowds. Dr. Schumann replied, just thank God that they are not following you. Although they may not follow you, preach Jesus and they will follow him. Wow, what a novel idea. Right, that we're here to lead people to him. It's not about how many people are following me, but are they becoming followers of him? Tozer goes on to say, when you think about it, we are told that Jesus himself had no beauty that we should desire him. He was not a personality boy. And this is in Isaiah 53. I think he must have been a plain-looking Jew, for Judas had to kiss him to let the soldiers know which one he was. If Jesus had been a television personality and had looked the part, no one would have had to go up and spot him. But when Jesus opened his mouth, grace and truth came out, and men and women either rejected the words that fell from his lips, or they followed him. In either case, they could never be the same again. The next section is called half disciples. He says, now think with me about those who are demi-disciples, that is, part disciples, half disciples. These are men and women who bring their lives partially under the control of Christ, but they leave whole other areas outside his control. Long ago, I came to the conclusion that if Jesus Christ is not controlling all of me, the chances are very good that he is not controlling any of me. It may sound strange, but I have met Christian disciples who were half saved. Please do not ask me to identify them theologically. I cannot. I am glad that God does not ask me to write letters of recommendation for some people whom he cannot place. He is not asking me that, for he knows where everyone is, in or out of the kingdom, and I do not. I only know this about some of these people, whom I see as half disciples. They will allow the Lord to bother them on some things, but certainly not on others. They will obey the Lord in select areas of their lives, but disobey him willfully in others. The result is I do not know where to put them. I do not know what to do with them. Therefore, I must leave them with God. I do appreciate the honesty of Tozer here. He says, as for myself, I do not want to be a half disciple. I want my whole life, all of me, under the dominion of the Lord Jesus Christ. It was an old English preacher who used to say, if Christ cannot be Lord of all, he will not be Lord at all. Certainly, he wants to be Lord of all of my life. He wants me to be a disciple who will allow him to rule my entire being. He goes on to talk about short-term disciples. He says, I have met some of them. They always leave a way out. They never burn their bridges behind them. They never reach the point of no return. I believe a Christian is a Christian indeed, a real disciple, when he or she has reached the point of no return. The people in our churches would not be worrying so much about whether they can or cannot be lost after they are saved if they would just come right down to business with God. To be able to say, Lord, I am not going to worry about such theological problems. I'm going to face it now and reach the point of no return. I will not be going back. But there are short-term disciples who have not yet reached that point. They are part-time, short-term, seasonal disciples. They come to church on Easter Sunday, at Christmas, and at other special times. So he goes on, he talks about chameleon disciples, and he closes out this chapter with disciples who have multiple loves. Wow. Remember that books are not the Bible, my friends, but they are the thoughts of those sons who have gone before us, who have pondered such things and received oftentimes tremendous insight by the cross working within them. And so it's good to read them. So let me close this Here We Go episode out as I get ready to head to Remnant Fellowship for the second day of Cross Encounter. There's so many things happening. To have almost 40 people watching their faces as truth hits them, being able to have the privilege of serving their life with the Father. And I don't know if you can hear all the chatter going on down here in the restaurant and the cafe here at our hotel, my hotel. I'm traveling alone this time, so it's just me, but it's in this everyday way of life. We watch him literally break in on people. They hear him and they see him. But oh, that they would choose him. So let me close with this section, disciples with multiple loves. Another mark is this: they have not given up their other loves. Fenelon many years ago said, "Give up thy loves in order that thou mightest find the love. Give up thy lovers that thou mightest find the great lover. Give up all that thou lovest in order that thou mightest find the one whom thou canst love." But these other disciples will not do that. They will not give up their other loves. They want to take the world in one hand and the cross in the other and walk the tightrope between heaven and hell. They hope by the grace of God to make one last final jump over the portals. No, I think not. I remember Balaam in the scriptures, Tozer says. He prayed a plaintive prayer, and on the strength of that prayer, half the preachers in this country would have drummed him straight into heaven. For he said in Numbers 23:10, "Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his." But then he went over to the side of the sinners and fought against the righteous in battle. When he died, what kind of death did he die? Did he die the death of the righteous? I say no. He died the death of the sinner because he had lived the life of a sinner. The person who wants to die the death of the righteous must live the life of the righteous. The person who wants to die a Christian must live a Christian. The person who wants the advocate above to be a shelter for him or her in that hour must allow him to be a shelter right now. One of the things I love about reading the old saints and pondering them is because they speak usually with such clarity and piercing truth that brings you to the points of decision. They are consistently entering in for themselves, and you can see the progression in their writings, and therefore as they are provoked, they turn around and provoke all of us. That are we one of his true disciples? Are we allowing him to keep us, to lead us, to form his life within us? Not to the point of our satisfaction, but to the point of his. Are we continuing on, or have we stopped and settled down? Are we those who are willing to yield our right to ourself to Him? He decides who I am and where I go, and who I'm in relationship with and who I'm not. He determines my sitting and my rising, my vacation, my rest, my work. I am bonded to Him and His way of life, and that is not with resistance, but I can tell when it's about to cost. I can tell when someone's about to perceive that I don't love them, when actually I'm loving them stronger and purer than ever before. Because I will not be able to bow to them to prove to them that I love them. Because ultimately, I want them to know Him more than I want them for myself, to make my dreams come true. Parents use their children oftentimes, no matter what age they are, and they want their children to make their dreams come true. I want you to live like I want you to live. I want you to look like I want you to look. Rather than, my children may have been born through me, but they were not born for me. I bore them that the Lord might have them. And therefore, Father, their days, their timings, their sittings, their standings, everything about them is in your hands. So this is an ongoing, progressive work. His life is my life, and that oneness continues to bring His rulership more and more and more. And that's inward before it's outward. I'm not applying external religious rules, but living and governed by a life from within. And it's to the person of God. And so I pray that in this Here We Go episode, they're always a bit messy, but that it provokes you to think with Him. If lately you've been impulsive, just yield that to Him. Ask Him to show you things. Sit with Him. Even as you walk about your day, you're sitting with Him inwardly. Have there been half-hearted ways, divided allegiance? I know that as we approach the days of Oxford opening in February around the world, we are headed into an exclusive allegiance to Him. Only He can produce it. It's the same as it was with Jesus. I can't declare it. I can't produce it. But I can allow Him to do that in me. And then I will encourage others to continue on in the same. So we want to be that one integrated person, that who we are in private is how we live in public. And when you yield your right to yourself, that I tell you, the cross will plunge deeper within you. And He is worthy, my friends. And for this time that we have on this earth, let us live unto Him. Let us live as we were always meant to live. To really, really live. To know Him. Is it John 3:17 that says eternal life is to know Him? So, wherever you are as you're listening to this, I pray that you would come unto the knowledge of Him, that your discipleship, which is sonship, leaves its impulsiveness, leaves its days of half-heartedness, and proceeds on into the fullness of life. So, I love you all, and greetings from Council Bluffs, Iowa. This is a strategic area for the transcontinental move of God, coming straight out of here. straight out of this whole area of Iowa, Nebraska. And I am certainly glad to be any part of it. And I appreciate all of the partners of NMM. And hopefully you've stayed with me long enough to hear me say this, that in real time tomorrow, January 10th, my amazing husband, Win McCready, will turn 70 years old. And last weekend we celebrated with family and friends, and I want to make sure, though, that on the actual day where he is finishing his 70th year, he has finished that, I want to say happy birthday to him. And any of you that know him, that you'll wish him a happy birthday, and that he'll step into the deepest and strongest years of his life, and that we'll have many years together. And I also want to say thank you to everyone who gave during our NMM year-end initiative, giving initiative. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but we tipped over $100,000 in that which we received and pledges into 2026. That's because the Father is scaling us up, as he said that he would, and what it requires to now pour into others, to see other producers being established, provided for, funded, watching them take this message into the utter parts of the earth. We are about to see things. Some of it we know about, some of it I'm sure the Father is about to surprise us. But we want him to get us ready, and we want to make sure that you know that we are very mindful of your trust to us, your giving to us. But it's really us then turning and pouring into all of those that we have the privilege of walking with. So thank you so very much on all of these fronts and layers of life. We thank you, we love you, and we pray that we'll all continue on with him as full-hearted disciples and sons. Love you all.
For more information on Nancy, please visit nancymccready.com or follow her on social media at NB McCready.